We have a blockbuster of a semi-final coming up tomorrow. If you're watching the video tomorrow, then the semi-final is tonight. Inter, Barcelona. May the best team win. But listen, when it comes to knockout football, when it comes to games of this magnitude, when there's a lot on the line, it's all about nullifying the opposition. It's all about identifying their weaknesses and capitalizing and exploiting them. So how can Simone Inzaghi's Inter, bearing in mind they've just played Barcelona for 90 minutes, they've seen how good their players are, they've seen how good their systems are, they've seen how good their bench is, they've looked throughout the season and looked at their campaigns, the amount of goals they score, the way they retain the ball. What are the weaknesses? And what can Inter target? But on top of everything, exploit. Now if you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like. I would always appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. 3 things. Number 1, we have to talk about this player, Lamine Yamal. If Inter want any chance of making it to the Champions League semi-final, I'm not saying set up a plan strictly for Lamine Yamal, but Lamine Yamal should be on their minds. And you could even see in the press conference, all the questions are about Lamine Yamal. I want to mention Jose Mourinho. Now, in 2010, Inter beat Barcelona, home and away. And the questions that were aimed at Jose Mourinho at the time were, how did you nullify Lionel Messi? How did you stop him? There's a video on YouTube where he breaks it down in detail. And he said, listen, I told 3 of my players, 3 defensive-minded players, that you guys are going to have to work hand in hand. If it means 3v1, then so be it. Because if we take Lionel Messi out of the game, we take a lot of Barcelona out of the game. And the 3 players were Zanetti, Cambiaso, and Thiago Motta. And he even breaks it down in detail where he says, listen, when the ball would go out wide, I would always tell Zanetti to force Messi inwards. Okay, now they usually tell you, show them down the outside. But in this case, he was like, no, show him inwards. Because at that period in Lionel Messi's career, he wasn't the best at tucking inside, playing inwards in those congested areas. He was a bit more raw. He wanted to go down the outside and cause havoc. But Jose Mourinho knew, when he goes inside, I've got Motta, I've got Cambiaso, 2 players that are defensively minded, 2 players that are physical, 2 players that are well experienced, and 2 players that know how to control that area of the pitch. So basically, you're creating a trap by telling one of your teammates to force him into an area, because now you've got the players that can get the beating of him. This is where I look at Inter and I say, Bastoni. Okay? I look at Bastoni. I look at Carlos Augusto, because in my opinion, I feel like he should start. DeMarco, as much as what he offers offensively, defensively, Lamine Yamal had serious fun against him. And I feel like Carlos Augusto, especially when you bear in mind the way he played against Bayern Munich, he showed I can offer something in the final third, but defensively, I am a tough cookie to crack, okay? Let's just put it like that. So, Carlos Augusto, Bastoni, and the one change that I would make is Barella in Inter's 5-3-2 tends to play on the right-hand side. Okay, now Barella, he's got the technical ability, he's got the physicality, he's reading of the game, he's tenacious, he's aggressive, he wins his duels, he's got the endurance. I would maybe for this game, and this is just me thinking out loud. I'm a YouTuber, I'm not a coach, okay? This is just me saying, maybe, just maybe. Rather than the first leg when we consistently saw DeMarco, Mkhitaryan, both double teaming on Lamine Yamal. And the thing is, both of them, you could say physically, are not the most gifted. Like Lamine Yamal, he's got the beating of both, and he showed. Why not put him up against one, a Carlos Augusto? That's more defensively minded than a DeMarco. Secondly, Barella, I would probably play him for this one game alone on the left-hand side of that midfield trio. Like I said, I know throughout his Inter career, he tends to play on the right-hand side. But depending on the substitutions, depending on the injuries, he's shown he can play all over the trio. But I'm just sat telling myself, you're better off putting a Barella with a Bastoni, with a Carlos Augusto. And if it means them 3 going at Lamine Yamal at the same time, you've got it all. You've got defensive-minded players. You've got energy. You've got tenacity. You've got aggression. You've got running power. You've got strength. For me, Mkhitaryan, as much as he's been amazing for Inter, a 36, 37-year-old up against a high-flying 17-year-old who's got that low centre of gravity, it's not a battle I'm looking to see at the San Siro. So for me, I think that trio on the left-hand side, they have to consistently communicate with one another. They have to force Lamine Yamal into areas where they know Barella can now get the beating of him one-on-one. But I think targeting Lamine Yamal and having a plan, and if it means man marking him throughout the game, if it means putting Barella in that zone strictly for this one game to try and nullify him, I think it's worth it. Because listen, Lamine Yamal, we all saw in the first leg, when he gets the ball, it's dynamism, it's magic. Okay, that is number one. Now number two, the high line. Everybody knows Barcelona. Like Barcelona, as much as they might be top of La Liga, as much as they might be potentially on the way to win a treble, their biggest Achilles heel, like their biggest weakness, is their high line. Now, of course, in order to exploit a high line, you need one of two things. You need players that can spot passes, but you need players that can time their runs. Barcelona, they've mastered this high line. They know when to push forwards. They know when to squeeze inwards, and they know when to sit back. So, for a team that's practically played the entire season on the halfway line, they haven't really been found out too many times. But they have been found out in some games. And there's a reason why every Barcelona fan will turn around and say to you, we concede goals. Barcelona, we concede goals because of the way we play. But also because of the way we play, we generate a lot of opportunities. We score a lot of goals. So in a sense, it's like they go out there to outscore the opposition. This high line, I feel like we saw it in moments where Inter, they got the beating of it. Inter were just a millisecond away from a goal. Like I still believe the offside goal should have been given, but it was just a millisecond. Inter, they've got the physicality out wide in the flanks. They've got the physicality down the middle in Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram. And we all saw Marcus Thuram was integral. His ability to drop deep, hold off Koulibaly, and then that creates space and time for somebody like a Dumfries to tuck inside and run inwards. Whether it's Mkhitaryan and Barella to make the run in behind. They need to exploit the high line. They need to play vertical. They need to play dynamic. But on top of everything, everything needs to be calculated. Every pass needs to be calculated. Every run needs to be calculated. And like I said, in the first leg, a game where Barcelona dominated possession, when Inter had the ball, they knew and they saw and they experienced they can get the beating of this high line. And I think Thuram dropping deep, dragging the centre halves with him, creating space out wide, because naturally the team will squeeze and they will tuck inside when they see a striker is dragging a centre half with them. It creates space for Dumfries, it creates space for Carlos Augusto. I think Marcus Thuram is going to be so integral to Inter, but the high line, it can be exploited, and Inter have got the firepower to do so. That's the second way where they can hurt Barcelona. The third way, funnily enough, is a tactical approach which I really liked Simone Inzaghi deploy towards the end of the game. Like towards the end of the game, once he had taken off his best of players, injuries, fatigue, rotation. When you bring on certain players, sometimes you can't ask them to play a certain way because they're not of the right personnel. But you can clearly see from this photo, towards the end of the game, Inter started to set up in the 5-4-1. Now, we're all accustomed to Inter off the ball, the 5-3-2, with two strikers spearheading the attack. With this one, it was different. It was the 5, the 4, and the 1. 2 in midfield rather than 3. But in return, you now get 2 players out wide that can help the wing-backs. Me, personally, I would like to see Inter deploy that, not towards the end of the game because of injuries, because of players being taken off, substitutions. I think from the first minute. That 5-4-1 was difficult to break down for Barcelona. And yes, you might be sacrificing a midfielder, but when you look at Barcelona, where do they get the most joy? Where are some of their most deadly of weapons? Out wide. Rafinha on the left-hand side, Lamine Yamal on the right-hand side, Pedri in the centre. But even when they have the ball, which areas do they target? So, for example, when the centre-halves have the ball, when the midfielders have the ball, do they play centrally or do they always target the flanks? The majority of the times, they target the flanks because they want to get the ball to their best of players. So I'm now sat telling myself, at times, when DeMarco was out wide on the left-hand side, you're now asking Mkhitaryan, you need to shift across. You're a midfielder, but out of possession, you now need to shift across to help him. But what if you are now to have 1, a midfielder, but 2, a left-sided midfielder, and 3, the left wing-back? You've now got options. You basically cramp out the space where Barcelona want to get the ball. Because in the 5-3-2, the flanks remain open because it practically becomes one-on-one. But now you're asking your midfielders to shuffle across. Now, you don't need to ask the midfielders to shuffle across. You're already cramping out the area where they had most joy in the first leg. I really like that 5-4-1. And to be fair, I haven't really seen it much from Inzaghi, but I liked it. And now, how would we do it? How would we do it? From the start, I would probably say to Marcus Thuram, okay, cool. When the team is on the attack, yes, it's the 3-5-2. You tuck inside. You've got the physicality. You've got the endurance to keep going from the right into the centre. But off the ball, why don't you go down the right-hand side? And then behind you, you've got Dumfries. That is physicality. That is tenacity. That is aggression. Like Dumfries, Marcus Thuram. You can make a case they're the two fastest players at Inter. That would be mayhem for somebody like Rafinha, because he now knows I'm not coming up against one. I'm coming up against two. And that two can easily turn into three if Bissek drifts out wide. And Bissek is another player that's physical, that's aggressive. I just think it works. On the left-hand side, I would once again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I would put Barella. Okay, so I put Barella on that left-hand side of the midfield. Yes, you're now asking a lot from Çalhanoğlu, Mkhitaryan in a two-man midfield. But this is where I do, once again, look at the centre-halves. Inter, the way they set up. Bastoni always stepping into midfield. Bissek will step into midfield. You've now got... It becomes like a little square. Well, you know, you've got Çalhanoğlu, you've got Mkhitaryan. To the left, they've got physicality. Physical players that can tuck inside and help them. But behind them, they've got also physicality players that can push forward into midfield. I've gone back and rewatched the game about 2-3 times. And that 5-4-1 off the ball, as much as we might turn around and say, listen, we only saw it because of substitutions, because of rotation, I feel like it showed a different dimension to Inter. Yeah? And listen, in these games, if you deploy something different and it works, everybody credits you and says, wow, what a change. What a tactical approach. You tactically exposed such a team. But of course, when it goes against you, everybody will sit down and say, why didn't you stick to what was working? This is going to be a massive, massive, massive game. And Barcelona is not a team to be slept on. You can make a case it's one of the best teams in Europe. Yeah, a team that's due to win a treble. You need to find a way around it. And I always say, in these big games, top managers, top players, a team of a high mentality, this is where you earn your bread and butter. This is where a coach will sit down and be like, listen, yes, you guys have all been used to me playing a back three. But today, because of the opposition, because of the way they set up, because of their principles on the ball, I'm going to change it up. And I'm going to show the world I've got an answer to every system, to every formation, to every principle. And that 5-4-1... I really, really, really liked it. Now, do I think Simone Inzaghi will deploy it from the start? No, not really. But will he deploy it towards the end of the game? Yes, I really, really, really think he will. But that's three ways where, let's just say, Inter can hurt Barcelona in possession, but they also can hurt Barcelona out of possession. And the game isn't as simple as Barcelona dominated the game because they had 80% of the ball. Yes, I read you guys' comments. I saw that throughout the comments. You can have the ball, but it's all about what you do on the ball. And Jose Mourinho, he broke it down perfectly when he beat Barcelona in 2010. What he said, I told my players, stay in shape, stay compact, work with one another, communicate with one another. It's fine. Let them have the ball. If they've got the ball and they're struggling to create opportunities, then our job is done. Keep the ball, but you're not a threat to me with the ball. You're a threat to me on the ball when you're creating opportunities, when you're putting crosses into the box, when you're carving me open. But if you're just holding on to the ball because you're struggling to break me down, go for it. Go for it. But listen, guys, like I said, I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just here to chat some football. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit the like button. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. And God willing, tomorrow we will be here. If not tonight, we will be here to discuss the outcome of Inter versus Barcelona. And I will catch you guys then.